9:30 at Stone Mountain Park.
Rising water along the Mississippi, more evacuations, and in some spots, the worst is yet to come. While hopes are on the rise tonight that democracy could be restored in Haiti.
This is NBC Nightly News, reported by Garrick Utley. Substituting tonight is Brian Williams.
Good evening. After more heavy rain and with more on the way, the Mississippi River continues its rampage, cutting a swath through the American Midwest from St. Paul to St. Louis. Some of the riverfront towns along that 500-mile stretch haven't seen water like this in over a century. NBC's Dawn Fratangelo is in Davenport, Iowa tonight, where the good news is that things can't get much worse.
Finally, it is cresting. The Mississippi is 7 feet above flood level in Davenport, Iowa, but the water and the problems it's creating are not going away. With more heavy rains predicted, businesses and homes could be soaked for days, perhaps weeks. That has tempers running as high as the river.
We want to come back to our own home. We're not going to allow free access to an area that's been evacuated.
Residents of one Davenport neighborhood have been unleashing their anger on the mayor. He's ordered the National Guard to keep them from their homes, even though they're not flooded.
The last 3 days, we've been sleeping in cars. I had to buy this the other day because we didn't have no other place to stay.
Here's the problem. The only thing separating the river from this neighborhood is this grassy dike. If the dike gives way, the water level's about 2 feet higher than the homes. But in flooded areas, some residents are stubborn and staying put. The home of the minor league ball club, the River Bandits, looks more like a SeaWorld. Evacuations continue as far south as St. Louis as the Mississippi continues to rise. The river is still closed to barge traffic for more than 500 miles, crippling the vital towboat industry which transports crops. After the Great Flood of '65, some communities built seawalls for protection. The wall in Rock Island, Illinois, just across the river from hard-hit Davenport, spared that city this year. The crest is coming, but immediate relief is not. And for the folks along the Mississippi, this is a view they'd not like to see again. Dawn Fratangelo, NBC News, Davenport, Iowa.
And with us now from Davenport, Iowa, is Robert Reby. He's a flood area engineer with the Army Corps of Engineers. Mr. Reby, thank you for joining us. You folks are usually in the business of preventing this kind of thing. What kind of advice are you offering to people there tonight?
Well, we're generally advising them on how to protect their houses, their businesses, and that sort of thing, how to pump storm water out and flood water if it gets where it shouldn't be, that type of thing. We're out there to try and answer their questions, whatever they are. And we have quite a pool of experts in different fields, and we try to field whatever questions they might have about flood problems.
Now, as time goes on here, what is the danger downriver?
Well, of course, the flood crest is moving downriver, and they'll have the same problems that we do up here. Whether the levees can contain it or not, and they're doing a pretty good job here in some areas. Other areas, they're not. It's not much different down there.
How does this rank with what you've seen, and how does this rank in history of the area?
This is the largest one that I've seen. It's the second highest one in recorded history. It's about 3 inches lower than the flood of record in 1965.
Thank you, Robert Reby, for being with us tonight. Now on to the United Nations and talks aimed at restoring democracy to Haiti. It appears that the agreement by which Haiti's deposed president would return to power by the end of October has been accepted now by both sides in the crisis. In New York, Haiti's military leader, Lieutenant General Raoul Cedras, signed the UN plan first. It calls for him to appoint a military chief of staff who would reassign the officers responsible for the 1991 coup that deposed Haiti's elected president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide. At first, Aristide rejected the deal, demanding that the officers involved in the coup be drummed out of the army. But late today, under rising international pressure, Aristide backed down and said he too would sign the deal. The negotiations under UN sponsorship took 1 week. Watching the situation especially closely tonight are the residents of the section of Miami known as Little Haiti. Kerry Sanders is there.
Well, it's not a whole lot of excitement. The folks here aren't exactly sure whether they should be celebrating or not. Some people say they quite honestly don't like this agreement because they say they're not exactly not sure what's going to happen between the time that Cedras actually says he's going to leave and the time that he leaves at the end of October. They say that they fear that when Aristide returns to power, there could be problems.
We don't even trust this agreement. We don't even trust this agreement. We don't even take it that ICID is going back. So going back in October 31st, now we're in July. It's 4 months. So we don't believe in this.
It's kind of like when you see it, you'll believe it?
Yes, when we see it, we will believe it.
And of course, the date, according to the UN, will be the end of October. But the folks here say they're really skeptical about all of this. In part, they say, because they say once Cedras gets this agreement fully signed with President Aristide, that they say the economic embargo will be lifted, and then they're not sure whether they can trust Cedras to actually give up the power at the end of October.
Gary Sanders in Miami, we thank you. When Nightly News continues in a moment, President Clinton extends the U.S. ban on nuclear weapons testing. And on Focus tonight, the state of AIDS treatment at the nation's first ever AIDS clinic. It's been treating patients now for 10 years.
You know, there's nothing more fun than a vacation at sea. You can lounge in the fresh air, visit romantic ports, enjoy fine dining, great shows, pampered service. I love it here. There's so much to do.
Holy cow! Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Richard. What are you doing here?
Having the time of my life. Oh. If my friends can see me now.
Take a 3-, 4-, or 7-day vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
I love this ship.
He likes milk and show. He's got great muscle tone. He likes milk and show. And strong, healthy bones. She likes milk and show. Baby, soft skin, bright eyes, a healthy grin. She likes milk and show. Milk, it does her body good. With vitamin A to help keep eyes bright, calcium for healthy teeth, and protein to help build muscle. When you drink milk, it shows. She likes milk and show. It does her body good. She likes milk and show. It does her body.
The testing of doomsday weapons. President Clinton today extended the U.S. ban on nuclear weapons testing through 1994, and he called on the other nuclear powers, Russia, Britain, China, and France, to continue their own moratoriums. NBC's Tom Pettit is at the White House.
The president overruled military advisors and ordered an extension of the moratorium on underground nuclear testing. Testing in Nevada could be resumed if any other country should do this kind of thing. But no U.S. nuclear explosions as long as no other nation tests, he said in his radio address today. Then in a 4th of July video, he spoke of America's military.
So today I hope you will join me in expressing your thanks for our freedom. Appreciation for the military personnel who protect us.
Bill Clinton has worked at becoming commander-in-chief to overcome his own anti-military reputation. He visited an aircraft carrier, Annapolis, and West Point. He honored veterans from the Somalia operation. His promise to admit homosexuals into military service alienated many military people. The Air Force had to remove a general who made fun of the president. But his Memorial Day appearance at the Vietnam Memorial may have been a turning point in winning respect of the military.
As a Vietnam vet, I was very pleased to see him go to the Vietnam Memorial. I think that was necessary.
And his decision to bomb Baghdad was a strong signal. General Colin Powell of the Joint Chiefs.
Well, I think he acted very skillfully as a commander-in-chief.
I found that respect for his decision and his respect for them. I think it's a growing mutual respect.
By bombing Iraq, he won a big victory over many doubting Thomases in the American military. Tom Pettit, NBC News at the White House.
As the people of Iraq begin rebuilding, their government continues to deny involvement in a plot to assassinate former U.S. President George Bush. NBC's Tom Aspel is in Baghdad.
11th Street, Al Hafia, Baghdad. 1 week ago, an errant American cruise missile killed 2 people here. Iraq's intelligence headquarters, a mile away, was destroyed during the attack as punishment for what the U.S. says was an Iraqi plot to kill George Bush. Jafar Jalal doesn't believe the claims of the CIA, the FBI, and the Kuwaitis that Iraq was involved in any assassination conspiracy.
I think it's just, let's say it's false, in my opinion. There's no such a thing.
Jafar Jalal's sister and her child were killed here. Few in Baghdad are aware that the trial of 11 Iraqis and 3 Kuwaitis resumed today in Kuwait. 4 of the Iraqis said they were innocent, and unaware of any plot to kill George Bush. Human rights organizations have raised questions about the trial, casting doubts on the methods Kuwaiti security forces have used to extract confessions from several of the defendants. Most Iraqis here have doubts too. This girl says the trial shouldn't take place. Her boyfriend says it's a plot to discredit Iraq. This man says the accused are mercenaries and not agents of the Iraqi government. This one says there was no plot. It's simply the CIA and the Kuwaitis pushing Iraq further into a corner.
Iraq is getting some support from an unlikely quarter. Amnesty International says there should be a retrial for the defendants in Kuwait. It's not often this country finds itself with a human rights organization on its side. Tom Aspel, NBC News, Baghdad.
There's word the goal of attaining peace in the Middle East appears to be in trouble again tonight. There was hope that the 10th and latest round of peace talks, which ended Thursday, would produce some sort of agreement on future Palestinian self-rule in the occupied territories. But today, Palestinian negotiators told Secretary of State Warren Christopher that the peace process is in danger, and they said it's up to Washington now to keep it from collapsing. Fresh fighting today in Somalia. UN peacekeepers had a 10-minute gun battle in Mogadishu with troops loyal to one of the warlords there. No word yet on casualties. The trouble came just hours after America's ambassador to the UN, Madeleine Albright, who was visiting Somalia, conceded that much work remains to be done.
Dave Baldwin may not own a yacht, but like you, he makes sure the kids get new clothes when they need them. These are the basics. And now you can get something back just by the way you pay for them. The new GE Rewards MasterCard. You get 2% back on everything you buy, $1,000 in coupons, and no annual fee. For your GE Rewards MasterCard, just call 1-800-GE-REWARD.
I really didn't want my husband to color his gray hair.
But then I discovered this, the hair coloring called Just for Men.
And now he looks better than ever.
Simply apply Just for Men, and in 5 minutes, rinse. Just for Men blends away the gray for a totally natural look. No wonder 8 out of 10 women prefer the Just for Men look to the gray look.
It's like you took off 10 years.
And in just 5 minutes.
Just for Men. She'll love the way you look.
You're about to see another side of Effordent, 2-layered Effordent, with Arm & Hammer baking soda to help clean and freshen. 2-layered Effordent, clean, fresh dentures come out of the blue.
Day after day, you make those glasses of thick Metamucil disappear. Why not make them all disappear with Fibercon? Doctor-recommended Fibercon gives you the same fiber regularity in tablets.
Easy-to-swallow tablets.
Get doctor-recommended Fibercon.
Sunday, he's brought you the news from every corner of the globe. A special goodbye salute to John Chancellor. Plus, Peter Gabriel rocks the concert circuit. Sunday on Today.
On Focus this evening, health, the AIDS epidemic. 289,000 Americans have been diagnosed with AIDS since 1981. Almost 2/3 of them have died. In fact, AIDS is now the second leading killer of young men in America, surpassing heart disease and cancer. The nation's first AIDS clinic opened 10 years ago this month. NBC's science correspondent Robert Brazell, who has been reporting on this disease from the beginning, went back there for this story.
Deep breath in and let it out. And once more.
J.B. Mulligan is a nurse practitioner on Ward 86 of San Francisco General Hospital. A typical afternoon for J.B. shows a lot about AIDS. There is no effective treatment for the AIDS virus. Mostly, J.B. fights a constant battle against infections that strike his patients one after another. Russ Milligan is one of J.B.'s several patients for the day. He's already had many infections and severe reactions to some of the drugs used to treat them.
So what we're struggling with today is he has, again, another infection in his lymph glands here. We need to treat that, but we don't want to give him the same medicines that caused the problem.
Ward 86 was the nation's first, and it remains its most famous AIDS clinic. J.B. started working here soon after it opened 10 years ago, when there were few patients. The board lists the patients the clinic now sees in a single day.
When you started here, did you ever even faintly imagine that 10 years later you'd still be here? No, are you kidding? When I first started working here, I thought AIDS wouldn't be here for 10 years. I thought that this was something that was a disease that was hitting a small population of people, and that medical science was going to figure it out quickly. How are you?
While there has been little progress against AIDS, JB and his co-workers have established a new model of health care. Patients see mostly nurses who call on doctors only when they need assistance. In fact, JB knows more about AIDS care than most doctors.
I'm not ever going to get used to the suffering, and I hope I never get used to the suffering.
The staff here keeps a book with the handwritten names of more than 1,000 patients who died.
It helps with grieving, because, I mean, when there's this many numbers, people can become numb by this experience.
But when you see these names, you remember many.
Oh, yeah. I mean, sometimes we'll just sit around and, like that guy, that's my writing, Anthony Teresi.
It's funny, I interviewed Ron.
We interviewed Ron Carey in 1985. The book lists his death in 1987.
So it's that same kind of thing, yeah. It's a really, I think it's a good memorial to these folks, for us also to allow us to go through this, and it keeps things in perspective, that these were people that made a difference.
For J.B. Mulligan and other healthcare workers, it is that perspective that enables them to care for so many people who are so sick day after day. Robert Bazell, NBC News, San Francisco.
And we'll be back with more news in a moment.
Okay, it's the next exit. Coming up.
No matter how often we surprise a new winner,
I can't believe this. Wonderful.
it's pretty exciting getting ready for that winning moment.
Let's do it. You just won $10 million.
Wow. You're for real, aren't you?
For real.
Oh, my gosh.
We're the Prize Patrol from Publishers Clearinghouse, and we're getting ready to visit you next month.
Wow, it was a special feeling. I loved it right away.
Arm & Hammer Dental Care. What's it like the first time?
Like a burst of clean. My mouth felt so clean and so healthy that it was just like leaving the dentist office.
That fresh from the dentist feeling. It's because Arm & Hammer has twice as much baking soda. Maybe that's why twice as many dentists recommend Arm & Hammer than any other baking soda toothpaste.
Now I get that fresh from the dentist feeling every single time I brush.
Arm & Hammer Dental Care with twice the baking soda for that fresh from the dentist feeling of clean.
If you're concerned about regularity, these are the facts. When asked, 9 out of 10 doctors agreed they would recommend this, a high-fiber diet, and Kellogg's All Bran. So they may not have to recommend this. Finally, some advice from doctors you can actually enjoy. A high-fiber diet and Kellogg's All Bran, doctor recommended for drug-free regularity.
In a recent study of couples, social scientists found that a full 50% prefer a squeeze to a pat. Of those who prefer a pat, 35% still like an occasional squeeze. Thus, we suggest Squeezable I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. The only squeezable spread flavored with sweet cream buttermilk for a fresh butter taste, but without the cholesterol to spoil the romance. So give your special someone a good, healthy squeeze. I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. The taste you love without the cholesterol.
Time now for a look at some of the stories in the news this week. A military first, President Clinton nominated a woman to head a branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. Her name is Sheila Widnall. She's a professor at MIT, and if confirmed by the Senate, she'll be the next Secretary of the Air Force. In Michigan, the deadline for claiming a year-old $18 million lottery prize passed with no winning ticket ever presented. The money now goes to a fund for public schools. Among the explanations, though, offered up by those trying to claim the prize without the ticket, a woman's story that it was in the glove compartment of her car, which happened to be totaled in an accident. Tuesday, Northwest Airlines Flight 106 out of Phoenix, Rick Adams boarded carrying little Alex, wrapped in a blanket, sound asleep. The flight took off. Alex woke up, but he was well behaved. Then, as the cabin attendant began serving lunch, chicken and salad, she noticed that Alex was an ape. Northwest complimented Adams on how tidy and quiet the 20-pound ape was, but company rules say animals too large to fit under the seat have to ride in the cargo hold. That's where little Alex will be tomorrow when he returns from Minneapolis. This, too, happened this week. A gerrymandering decision by the Supreme Court. The justices said creating these two strangely shaped voting districts in North Carolina to increase black representation may violate the constitutional rights of white voters. In Congress, a surprise win for anti-abortion forces in the House, continuing a ban on federal financing of abortions for poor women, except in cases of rape, incest, or to save the mother's life. In New York, an unemployed landscaper is arrested, implicated in the murders of 13 women. Joel Rifkin claims he's killed 17. Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman is in custody for immigration law violations. His followers and associates have been linked to terrorist plots in New York City. The State Department now warns Americans traveling abroad to be on the alert. And coming this fall, warning labels on TV shows. In a compromise hammered out between broadcasters and Congress, TV networks will provide advisories about violent content. But is there any stopping children from seeing violence on television? We put that question to a man who produces violent television and also happens to be a parent. The story from NBC's George Lewis.
Ken Kaufman makes docudramas, some of them award-winning and well-received by the critics. But during a congressional hearing in May, Kaufman's most recent show about the Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas, was singled out as one of the most violent programs of this TV season.
Tim Daly is David Koresh.
Kaufman says his shows are merely a reflection of the way society is today.
Well, I think there is a problem, and the problem is that our society is very violent, and the images of that society are on TV 24 hours a day, and they're on TV in the news programs and talk shows and tabloid TV, and ultimately they're on in the dramatic shows as well.
As we were interviewing Ken Kaufman Thursday night, San Francisco authorities were pulling bodies out of a high-rise building where a gunman had taken 9 lives, including his own.
What we're talking about is a large problem in our society, not a very specific one that deals with television, movies, and miniseries.
As a father of 3, Kaufman worries about what his kids watch, a concern shared by his wife, Pam.
There's a lot of violence in Saturday morning cartoons that bothers me, but I don't think that's being addressed right now.
12-year-old Michael Kaufman says kids don't have to imitate the violence they see on the small screen.
Most kids, they see something, it doesn't mean they have to do it.
It isn't the government or the people who make TV shows who have ultimate responsibility over what kids watch. That is in the hands of parents. George Lewis, NBC News, Los Angeles.
A birthday celebration for an American institution when we come right back.
I know what I like and don't like. I don't like irregularity. It slows me down. I don't like harsh chemical laxatives. I like natural, like new smooth texture, regular flavored Metamucil. It's the only natural fiber with no sweeteners, no added flavors, as well as no grit. I don't like those. So it's easy to take, easy to get the extra fiber I need, and it works just the way I expect from Metamucil, to get the body up and running. I like that.
Metamucil, the natural choice for regularity.
Attention thieves, flimsy locks on doors. Fencing back is so high, nobody can see you. Easy access windows, take your time.
It's the obvious but overlooked things that attract burglars to your house. To help make your home burglar-proof, see your Allstate agent. You're in good hands with Allstate.
You like it?
Is that new Bonneville yours?
They really changed it, haven't they?
That's sharp. I figured you for a BMW or a Lexus.
Well, I checked them out. But with the Bonneville, I got everything I wanted. Leather, airbag, anti-lock brakes, and the power, the handling.
Mind me asking?
It was 10, 20,000 less than the BMW or Lexus.
We are driving excitement, Pontiac.
I like it.
Me too.
It kills the germs that cause bad breath. It fights plaque. It battles the gum infection, gingivitis. It's Listerine antiseptic. It's there to protect you.
Sunday, what is America's foreign policy? How do we deal with Bosnia or aid to Russia? Find out when Secretary of State Warren Christopher joins Tim Russert on Meet the Press.
For half a century, it's been the voice from home for American servicemen and women overseas. This weekend, the Armed Forces Network is celebrating its 50th anniversary with a reunion in Berlin.
EFN is the most important ambassador that America has ever had. Happy birthday.
London, 1942. Generals Marshall and Eisenhower announced the creation of AFN. And on July 4th, 1943, AFN went on the air from London.
You are listening to AFN Paris. This is the American Forces Network on the road to Berlin.
AFN World News in the Hour.
AFN Berlin has covered just about every major event that has happened since the end of the war. The blockade in 1947, the airlift, which followed in that, through the 1953 uprising, the East German uprising against the Soviet Army in 1953 in East Berlin. 1961, of course, the building of the wall and all the things that went on with that.
Serving the American forces in the divided city around the clock, you're tuned to AFN Berlin.
Today, in the world of freedom, the proudest boast is, Ich bin ein Berliner.
And then, of course, 1989, when the wall came down. And it just happened that it was Berlin. We were here, and we got to cover it.
Information, news, music, and sports.
The Americans listened because we were the voice from home. We took them back to their neighborhoods, and we brought them the latest news, the latest music.
It's up to you.
In the old days, they were happy to have anything, you know. Our audience has become more demanding, and we really have to keep on our toes to meet that demand. Well, we're told that there'll always be an AFN as long as there's American forces in Europe.
Good evening. The Pentagon has announced the results of round 12 of the...
It's probably very fitting that after this historical revolution, that we mark our 50 years and maybe slowly fade off into the distance.
The thing I hope is that somebody somewhere along the line, years from now, remembers and says, one time we had this station called AFN.
And that's NBC Nightly News for this Saturday. I'm Brian Williams. Have a safe holiday weekend. Good night.